right, so our plugin is almost complete. The last thing we need to do is finish our welcome page. And that's this page right here in Snappy Surveys Welcome. We've got this message, get to know your audience. That's the little description of our plugin. And then here it says 0 people participated in surveys today. So what we're going to do is create a function that's going to provide us with an accurate number here of how many people participated in surveys today. So to do that, let's open up our code editor and let's find our welcome page here. That's going to be in the admin pages section, and it's 8.1 here. So I'm just going to update this function now, and we'll review the changes together. So if we look at it right now, it's just some static HTML. Okay, so here we're calling a new function that we're going to generate in this lesson called getSubmissionsReceived, and we're storing that in a variable called submissionsReceived. Now this is going to grab a count for all the submissions received for all of our surveys today. After that, we set up a submissions received message to default to no submissions received today yet. Then we have an if statement here that says, so if submissions received is greater than 0, so this will return true. Then we want to update that message to say woohoo, and then we include the amount of submissions received, and then we append the text submissions received today. So this will say woohoo, 1 or 10 submissions received today. After that, we build that output now, but this time we're including some dynamic variables. So we've got the same title, Snappy Surveys here. And then below that, we've got a subtitle below that, and that's going to include our submissions received message that we just generated. Then below that now, we're including the list of the features that we previously had just as a paragraph tag. We're including that as a ordered list now. So the first list items, get to know your audience. The second is create simple surveys that capture anonymous data. But here, we're actually wrapping an A tag around the text, create simple surveys. And we're using the admin URL function to generate a URL to our post type page for SSP survey to add a new post. And then after that, we have our third feature, which is see insightful statistics from your surveys. And here we're generating a link around that to the admin page for our stats page. So then we close that ordered list and then close our div, and that's our new output. We echo that to the screen. So again, we're calling this new function up here, get submissions received. So let's create that now. We're going to add that to our helper section. So below 6.9, let's hit return a couple of times. And here's the new function. It's called get submissions received. Returns the number of submissions received today, either for all the surveys or a specific survey. So it takes in one argument, which is survey ID, and it's defaulted to 0. So in our example for our welcome page, we're only pulling the survey. We're not passing in a value, so it's going to be 0. So we start out by pulling in WordPress's global WP-DB class so that we can interact with its database easily. We set our default return value to be 0, and the name of the variable is submissions received. So we're defaulting that to 0. Then we get today's date by setting up a variable called today, and we're saying today is equal to a date object, and we want it to be formatted with year, month, day. So this will say something like 2015 0101 would be like January 1st, month and day. And then we're appending just 100 hours. So this is minutes or hours, minutes, seconds. So we're basically creating a timestamp for today. We're going to use that as a string now in our SQL that we're going to generate. So we check to see here, and we're inside of a PHP try statement. So we check to see if survey ID is greater than 0. It'll be true. Then we build our SQL. So here we're just selecting from our custom database table. We're using the SQL function count to count the amount of records, and we're saving that as a total. Where updated at, so that was that timestamp column we created, is greater or equal than today, and we're passing in our new today timestamp that we created. And the survey ID is equal to, and then this is good. This is a placeholder for a decimal, which we're going to use the prepare statement here to pass that in next. So this is going to grab all the records from our custom database table where the updated at value, the date, is going to be greater or equal than today. So everything from today on, from this morning on. And that's why earlier we set up the time in our timestamp to be like 000000. That's the very first minute of the day. Then so we use prepare on WPDB to prepare our SQL query now, and we save that as SQL. If survey ID is not passed in, then we want to grab all of them. So here we're limiting the survey that's being, the records that are being selected by the survey ID that's being passed. In our next query, it's exactly the same, except we're not including that survey ID portion. So here it's going to grab everything today, regardless of the survey ID. And we save that SQL. And then lastly, we run that SQL by calling getVar on WPDB, and then we pass in our SQL, and we're casting the result as an integer. So it should be a total number, either 0 or maybe 10. It could be anything, but it will be a number. And we save that as submissions received here. And then in our catch, if there's an error, we use our debug method to just write that error to the screen for debugging. At the end of our function, we return the new value that comes back from submissions received. So that's that new function, get submissions received. So, okay, so it would be cool if we added this submissions received today statistic to our stats page too. So let's do that. Let's go update our function getStats HTML 6.9, which was just above this here. And let's add in a new variable right here where we can get the submissions received. Okay. So this is running our new function, which we just created, get submissions received, but this time we're passing in the survey ID. So that's going to get a number only for that particular survey. And now we can just update our code where right here it says the number of total participants. We can add in a new paragraph that says the submissions received today. So this is going to include that number and then the text submissions received today. And again here, what we want to do is this actually should be inside of this if statement, because we only want to build that output if there is a survey being passed in. So just move that there. And that's much better. I'm just going to take these line breaks out here. Cool. So now's a great time. Let's update our table of contents. So we added in a new helper, our new submissions received function. So let's add that to our helper section here. Boom. Cool. So make sure you save your PHP file now, and let's go back into WordPress. And let's reload our welcome page. Awesome. So it says no submissions received today yet. And then we've got our features here with these links. Create simple surveys. We click that, links to the add new survey page. If we go back and click see insightful statistics, links to our statistics page. Okay, so let's go and answer one of our surveys. So to do that, let's go to Pages and let's view surveys. And so we haven't answered this survey today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to update my database table because I answered this yesterday, which is why I can't answer this again. So I'm going to go into MAMP here, which is running my local PHP server. I'm going to open up my start page, navigate to Tools, my PHP admin. And I'm going to look in my WordPress's database here and find our custom table. Here it is. So here's my result from the previous day. So if I just change this here and I update the IP address to something that's not my IP address, should be able to now go back into this page here and reload. Okay, so now my IP address isn't in the database for this survey, so I can now respond to this. So I'm just gonna hit, yeah, I think chocolate ice cream is the best. Submit my response. Okay, cool. I'm seeing the results here as I would normally. So now let's go back into our dashboard here, and on Snappy Surveys, let's click on our welcome page. Now look at this. We see, woohoo, 2 submissions received today. Very cool. So congratulations, you've built your first WordPress plugin. Oh, and before I forget, let's go to our stats page here and let's select a survey. So if we selected the same test survey, we now have the number there displaying as well. If we select another survey, we can see that the submissions received to date is different. Cool. You've built your first WordPress plugin. So in the next lecture, we're going to look at what to do now. Stay tuned.